Hey, welcome. My name is Cameron. I work here at Tenfold Coffee Company, and today we are going to be brewing one of our amazing coffees, the El Manzano Geisha honey process from the El Manzano farm in El Salvador. Today we're going to show you how to brew it at home just like we do here at the shop. Today we'll be brewing on our V60, a classic that most likely you see everywhere. You see at most cafes. And another wonderful tool we'll be using today is our new Time More pour over scale. It is wonderful, it is very tiny and amazing, and it is very slick, looks good on the kitchen counter, so you gotta have one, why not? We have our V60 filters, which are absolutely necessary for doing a V60 pour over. And last but not least, we'll be using a gooseneck kettle by Fellow. Just a beautiful looking kettle. We love it very much, and it'll help you have a little more control doing the pour over throughout the process. And we'll be dosing about 30 grams of coffee, and that's what we're going to use for our recipe. Now we're going to go to the bent wood and grind our coffee. Now that our coffee is nice and evenly ground, we are going to add our filter into our pour over, and we're going to pre-wet it. Pre-wetting it is something that we do to remove the flavor of the paper from our pour over, because the paper tends to leave a papery taste to it sometimes. There's a nice little perforated edge on here. We want to just fold it right on there. So put your hands inside, give it a nice little fold. Now that our filter is nice and pre-wetted, we want to take our water, and today for the V60 we'll be using a temperature of 205 degrees. We believe that coffee is extracted optimal from a 200 degrees to a 205 degree temperature, Fahrenheit obviously. I'm going to pour it right down the middle and just nice and gentle and just let it lay. Nothing too crazy. I don't want it to be uneven. I don't want a big wall or a mountain leaning against one side. And if there is, it's okay to give it a nice gentle shake to straighten it out. Now my scale will be monitoring my grams and also my time. I need to monitor both of those throughout the brewing process to make sure I'm able to replicate the recipe I have. So a wonderful rule of thumb whenever you're approaching a pour over is that whatever grams of coffee you're using, go ahead and just double that in the amount of water in your first pour. This is what we'll call a bloom. So since we have 30 grams, we're gonna do 60 grams of water on top in the first pour. So I'm gonna start my timer, and I'm gonna add 60 grams of water. What I'm gonna do is just control the flow. I wanna get everything evenly wet and saturated. So I'm doing a nice pour and making sure everything is evenly wet. And if we had any dry clumps in there, if you messed up and just poured a little wonky, it's okay. Take a little spoon or a paddle and just gently push it around. You don't want to stir it too harsh, just nice and gentle to break up those dry clumps. Now that we're at 30 seconds, we're gonna go ahead and add more water. And I'm gonna add 100 grams of water on top of this. So I'm gonna stop at 160. Since my first pour was at 60 grams, I wanna go up to 160 for the second pour. So I'm gonna pour right in the middle again, circulate around it a little wider as I go, adding another 100 grams of coffee. So going up to 260 grams. I'm going all the way up to 360 grams on this pour. And the same thing, I'm repeating it every time, making it easy for myself to repeat every day or every morning, pouring from the same height, and also doing the same circulation every time, making it something easy to replicate. Now I got my last pour, and I'm only gonna go up to 450 grams of water, adding on top of this. So just shy of another 100 grams. Now with the V60, like I said, since it kind of has a faster flow rate, I'm gonna go ahead and allow it to have a little longer time than I would do with something like a Clito Wave. If the water is flowing really fast through those grounds, that means it's not gonna be grabbing as much of that delicious coffee flavor we want, so we can extend that brew time a little bit more to create a little more concentration, a little more of that delicious flavor we want, then maybe we can have a little more balanced cup. So we're going to monitor the flow of this, and we're just gonna take note of when it stops dripping at the very end. What I like to think of it as is whenever you're popping popcorn in your microwave. When you pop popcorn, you kind of listen for those last couple pops. You wait until there's a few seconds in between each pop, and then you know it's ready. Same with my droplets. I like to wait until there's a few seconds in between each droplet. And now that we are done with our brew process, it's done dripping about 4 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. Got some nice little glasses. I'm gonna pour a little bit into here. A little into here. Some for you, some for me. It smells really delicious. It's very sweet, a lot of sugar coming off of this. A little bit of this nice apricot smell to it. I'm sure it's gonna taste absolutely phenomenal. Great. And thank you so much for being here and for watching this. I hope it is very helpful and gives you some nice tips and tricks on brewing your V60 at home. Happy brewing.